Today we're talking about the KTM TBI 2024. We'll look at the things that might not work so well with this bike. So if you're thinking about getting one, stick around to know what to watch out for. I took the new KTM TBI model for a spin, and wow, was I impressed? The engine's power at low revs blew me away, far surpassing my TPI model. Steering felt sharper too, but here's the catch: the bikes weren't entirely stock. It's tricky to compare them fairly with those extra parts. But let me tell you, the low rev power surge felt like riding an electric motorcycle. Smooth, steady, and seriously surprising. I know that you entered this video to find out what the problems are with TBI models, but I simply have to share more information before we start talking about the problems. I carefully observed when someone goes with TBI over a stone, tree, or some other objects in the forest that make riding difficult. I simply listened to the engine, looked at the tire traction, all with great attention. And I can say that KTM really made a very good motorcycle that is better than TPI for extreme conditions. But every bike has its advantages and disadvantages, so I think the TPI is better in some things like climbing big hills at full throttle and cross-country racing. Moving on to the main topic of this video, I want to highlight a crucial difference between the 2023 and 2024 TBI models. For those considering purchasing a used bike, this distinction in the electronic control unit is essential. In the 2023 version, an inadvertent press of the start button while the bike is already running triggers an irremovable error. However, with the 2024 model, the scenario changes. In such an instance, a small diagnostic tool can help you, costing around $50, allows you to easily clear the code. To aid all KTM owners, I strongly recommend acquiring and keeping this diagnostic tool in your garage. It's a valuable asset that can save you considerable time and money. It empowers you to check your bike for issues independently and often resolve them without the need for expensive visits to the KTM service center. If you're hoping to resolve problems on your 2023 model, using a low-cost diagnostic tool similar to what's possible on the 2024 model, there's a catch. Unlike the easy fix on the newer model, fixing this on the 2023 version involves sending your ECU to a service center. They'll need to install a new mapping from the 2024 model. It's crucial to handle these diagnostic procedures with care. Mistakes might harm your motorcycle, which is a risk you definitely want to avoid. Make sure you're well informed before taking any action. Another drawback of this bike is that the fuel pump isn't at the lowest point in the tank. There have been cases where folks ran out of fuel, even though there were still 2 liters left. It's frustrating because you have fuel, but the pump can't reach it. Some might think it's not a big deal since you can refuel before that point. But here's the issue: you're carrying around 2 liters of useless weight on your bike. That's why some folks have made changes, like modifying the pump's hoses and positioning the hose lower in the tank, aiming to ensure better access to the remaining fuel while riding. My friend said his TBI bike overheated a few times, more than the older TPI models. Maybe it's because the TBI has a bit more compression or a different thermostat design, but I don't want to talk too much about this heat problem, because it might only be my friend's experience. I don't want to share info I'm not sure about. Something else I've heard is that supposedly When you push the throttle hard, the back part of the piston hits the crankshaft. That can make the piston break and really mess up the engine. I had a similar issue with the TPI, and so did some of my friends. One of them had the piston break 4 times, 3 times on his bike and once on their dad's bike. Every time it broke in the same way, in the same spot. Everything looked the same. Now, why does this happen? Is it because they used weaker materials when making the new parts? We haven't figured out the exact problem yet, but we think that might be it. It seems that with the new TBI models, the pistons might not break if you ride slower on terrains like trails or zigzags. But if you're an aggressive rider, there might be a risk of cracking. Some suggest grinding the bottom of the piston to avoid hitting the crankshaft. But be cautious. Always check with your mechanic before making any changes. The piston moves really fast, so be careful when thinking about making changes. I've heard that sanding by 2 millimeters might be needed. There's news from Vertex about a new piston design that'll be 2 millimeters shorter, so you'll soon have an original piston without needing to sand. Personally, I'd never grind a piston. I'm just scared of making those kinds of changes. When it comes to problems with the KTM TBI, there are some issues for sure with the thermostat and the piston hitting the crankshaft. You might have seen some engine failures online, but I don't want to talk much about that. I've had a good experience riding with this bike, and I'm planning to buy it when I have enough money. I don't want this video to sound negative or make it seem like I'm against the KTM TBI model, because I'm not. We've seen the TPI models face a bunch of issues with the pressure sensor, so it's kind of expected that the TBI might also run into sensor and electrical problems. It's just part of these newer bike generations, with a lot more electronics. If you're after a bike without any electrical troubles, your safest bet might be to grab a Yamaha YZ250 and set it up for enduro. That's my honest take on it. I've watched a lot of videos showing issues with the TBI like engine bogging. But you know what? Over time, these problems usually get fixed. As technology improves, they find better ways to solve and even prevent these problems. I bought the TPI when it first came out in 2017, and it had lots of issues back then, like not starting cold, going backwards. But now, the latest TPI model works so much better. We riders have learned about problems, so when something goes wrong, we know how to fix it. It'll probably be the same with the TBI. It just needs some time for us to understand its issues and fix them.